Hey guys, Saucekay here bringing you game number 2. This one's a banger. So in game number 2, we're trying to decide what to side in here. It's pretty clear that we want the switcheroo as well as both of these Gusts, just because he's got a lot of low might units in Fiora, the Poros, and just a plethora of low might units in which Gust gets a ton of value, especially if he's going to try and do things like punch first later on. And then for what we take out, we end up taking out the Brain Hero Thundersong simply because a lot of his combat tricks are at reaction speed, so it loses a ton of value. And then also, we take out the Hard Bargain, as well as a Longsword or a Spinning Axe, just because, again, his combat tricks are, just generally speaking, better than ours. So we're going to take out a couple of those just to try and mitigate them, and then add in that switcheroo, like we said. For our mulligans, we're trying to decide what we want to keep and throw away. Our hand is honestly pretty gas. The only card that we really don't like is this Longsword, and again, it's simply because he's got equal combat tricks. He doesn't have to pay power for them, and then also it costs him less energy to do so. So the Longsword doesn't feel great. We end up throwing that away and just hope that we can find a 2 here early on. But we do have a stack deck in case we don't, so it doesn't feel too bad. Since we're on the play here, our turn 1 is pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to play the 2-drop while we have that capability. So I'm going to drop down this Overzealous Fan and pass it off to the Yi. For our turn 2, since we had this Overzealous Fan start, we're just going to go right into that Grove of the Godwillow, develop our Draven there, and just allow our Draven to be hyper protected, as there's really no way for this E-list to kind of overtake this battlefield on the next turn. Now, Ghosty does a great job in responding in kind with this Trinity Force here. Being able to love the Trinity Force just puts a huge clock on us, right? He now essentially has control of 2 battlefields as opposed to 1, and we really have to find an answer for this Lonely Poro and soon. But thankfully we do have a couple of extra draws that we can find through this Grove of the Godwillow, and hopefully find an answer soon. We end up getting kind of a perfect alignment here in terms of just what we find. We end up getting this Overzealous Fan to move back to our base with this Tide Turner so that we can then switcheroo and just have a 6-2, and then that way if he has something like Punch First, we still have the Cleave to answer as well as the Longsword, and this way we're able to just retake the battlefield as well as draw a card through the switcheroo and the Dreaming Tree. Like we expect, Ghosty goes for this Punch First. He's incredibly far behind at this point, and he understands that he has to do something drastic. While he does put himself to 2 runes, if this Punch First works, he's still in a very good place after this. But we do have the second answer in the Gust and the Cleave, but we decide to go for the Gust just because it does deny him 1 extra draw, and while he does get to have the Lonely Poro back in hand, it's still going to be 2 turns before he's able to utilize it again. Now, because we win combat, we get to get an additional draw on top of the switcheroo draw from the Dreaming Tree, and so we just kind of decide that we're going to set up our future turns. We don't actually have any real combat tricks, so we just go for the stack deck while it is available, expecting that he's not going to be able to go into another action until at least 2 turns from now. So we feel pretty safe to do this, and by the time he's really able to react, we're already at 5 points, potentially even 7 before he's going to be able to actually do something to overtake these battlefields. Ghosty is in a pretty difficult position at this point. He's only got 4 runes to work with, and so all he can do at this point is just drop down these 2 Poros. And because of this, we kind of smell blood in the water. We recognize that reinforcing 2 battlefields is going to be a little bit more difficult than just reinforcing the 1 in that Grove of the Godwillow. So we just retreat from the Dreaming Tree, reinforce with these 2 Trifarian Hopefuls that we draw, and really feel confident about this game. So at this point, Ghosty's pretty desperate. He goes for this bit of a Hail Mary play in that he drops down the second Trinity Force just to try and kind of negate what we can do, and that he will put us on a 2-turn clock if we cannot answer it. But we do end up finding exactly the answers that we're looking for because we just draw so many cards off of this Grove of the Godwillow, and we're able to find a Tide Turner off the stack deck, bring back our Draven, as well as bring back one of these Trifarian Hopefuls, and just completely slam the battlefield. And because of this, the game is over, and we end up taking game number 2.
Welcome to the League of Draven.